Chaps, I've got Andy. Andy, we met each other through the business world, and like I said a second ago, mate, it surprised me. We were like, okay, yeah, that's all done. Love what you're doing with MANUP. I don't want to misquote or whatever else. Love what you're doing. If you ever want to chat about mental health, then let's book something in. So I was like, all right, well, sod it, let's get you on. And the floor's yours, mate. But what do you want to
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
surprise,
I'm
mate?
just you say to be surprised just with the openness of it and the frankness of it, and yeah, we've had a chat about helping me out from the professional side, and I saw what you do for this, and I'm really passionate about it, and I'm quite different because I'm really open about it. I'm really it's how I deal with my mental health issues is just talking and being like heart on sleeve kind of job. And if I'm struggling in the office, I've had times when I'm having a meltdown, a breakdown, and I'll cry in the office in front of a managing director, like because I need someone to talk to, and I don't care who it is. Like it's just how it is, and I've bottled it up for too long. That's what caused me the problems.
How did you get to this stage then? Because even me, mate,
Yeah,
I run a men's mental health charity. I'm always vocal, speak to people, express yourself, blah, blah, blah. I'm nowhere near as good as you are, mate. How did you get to that point of happiness? I guess that sounds cheesy, but
yeah. So I'll just go back to the kind of where it all started a little bit.
okay.
So I started to suffer. Well, I didn't realize first of all, I didn't realize I was suffering. Didn't
Yeah.
realize I wasn't very well. I was having, constant panic attacks, just feeling like I had this period in my life where I got made redundant and I spent 3-4 months looking for a new job. And there's nothing worse than me looking at my own abilities and skills to see where I don't feel like I'm good enough for anything. So my whole kind of pressure point is that feeling of inadequacy and imposter syndrome, like not being good enough for anything, being a good father, being a good husband, being a good friend, anything like that. Like that's what my root cause of my problems are, but I don't think I'm good enough for anything. I went through CBT after being diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and they gave me the tools to help me build myself up, which I still use all the time. I need to keep telling myself that I'm really, really good. And that's it. That's kind of a function that I have to do. But with this, I'm really lucky that because I've been in a job where I basically got fired for having mental health problems.
Wow.
I was off sick. I got signed off because I just couldn't cope with the place where I was. The culture wasn't right for me. The individuals it just didn't work. And it's one of those situations where it broke me. But while I was off, I couldn't face coming back. It was too overwhelming. It was too soon. And then so the owner of the company at the time basically said, well, we don't want you to come back, basically. So I left, and this was about 2017. My first daughter was being born like a month later. Like it was just an awful going into that. Yeah. And, loads of things had happened. It's just, so I just broke down. I just completely just fell apart as a person. And it took me a long time to build that back up again, but because I've got out of it the other side. I know that if I'm going for a new job or going for any job, so I got, going back from 2019, I got a new job in a new career, which is kind of one of the things that drove me to change because I was doing something I didn't enjoy. So I wasn't very good at it. Whereas I thought, let's go and do what I want to do. Let's do what I'm good at, moving on to design and marketing, which is where I am now.
Yeah.
And luckily I got a job in that after working for myself for 12 months. But one of the first questions I asked at that point was, what do you guys feel about mental health? How do you deal with it? Because I deal with it. I've got problems. I want support. This is me. If you don't like it, I don't want to work for you.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've got that confidence to ask that question every time I have an interview with someone.
Yeah.
And even when I got the job here at GTech, I asked that question straight off the bat, like, what happens here? And they are very supportive here. It's a great culture. For me anyway. I feel like I get that support because I'm open about it. People that find it harder to be like that, I don't know. I can't speak for them, but because I'm all cards on the table, I just carry on with it and go from there. So I think it's just acknowledging it, saying, I've had problems and I still have problems. I'll never cure myself. It's not something you cure, is it? It's just you manage it.
Well, that's the thing. That's something I've said throughout. Actually, is I'll be quite harsh with my words, but I don't mean to be. Like with me, I'm what we call borderline personality disorder. I'm high functioning. So unless you really knew me, probably you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
The people close around me were like, okay, he's going a bit, he's got the crazy coming, let's nip him in the bud. But I think where I'm going with that one in a weird way, I've had to learn to live with it rather than suffer from
Yeah.
it. And I think that's what we I think with mental health or mental illness, we're so, everyone's so vocal of like, you'll get past it, you'll be fixed one day, keep fighting. Quite frankly, that's not true.
I don't think that's true. No, I don't agree. I think I agree. Sorry. It's like, it's the level of how it can affect you and how you manage it. Like, I don't think I've been at GTech 2 years now, and I'm doing, like, I've done well. Like, I'm in a good position. Like,
Yeah.
I enjoy being here. I've found success in a role, but even the last 2 weeks, I've had 2 breakdowns in the office because I didn't feel like I'm good enough.
Yeah.
That's how it deals with. It's just had a long period of just not doing or not working exactly how I want it to be, and it's just built up, and I've just broken. And I've dusted myself off, worked it out, slapped myself around the face and gone, no, you are good enough. Here's the proof. Because I hadn't been doing that exercise of I've been focusing on all the negatives of things that weren't going as well as I'd hoped.
Easy done.
Now, no one else had had that opinion of me. Like, everyone else is happy with what I'm doing. It's just my own opinion of how I want to, set myself up to succeed. And I hadn't met those expectations. So I just had a breakdown. I took myself off to a room, had a cry for about half an hour, came downstairs again, looked at my screen, went, nope, went back up for another half an hour. Like, I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And then I just got it all out of my system and gone, right, no, I've got people that need to look up to me. I can't just sit here and be like this. I've got to move on. So even now, I just feel like this time I'm just struggling, but that's okay. That is okay. Yeah. If you're comfortable with acknowledging that. And I know that's not easy, and I'm got the ability that I can stand here and go, yeah, I've worked through it, and I can own it by talking about it. But I know not everyone can, and that's the position I think that's the best anyone can hope for. I think, be honest, I don't think you can ever get rid of it.
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to that thing. It's just when you have an off day, just forget. I shouldn't even use the term forgive yourself, because there's nothing really to forgive. Just let it go. Tomorrow's another day, isn't it?
Just restock. Just actually just spend a bit of time looking at it, being critical of it, and going, okay, what have I done wrong? What is it that I've done wrong? Have I actually done wrong, or is it just not good enough? And if it's not good enough, then you can improve.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. I think that's where I'm coming in. It's why I'm leaning on you from the business side, because I want to improve. I'm missing out on that skill. I'm not just trying to fail at it. I'm trying to improve. So I'm keen on that as well. As I feel like I have to achieve something new all the time to keep that validity of being good enough.
Well, I think it's that thing, is just as men in general, we have to keep testing ourselves and pushing ourselves borderline. But I don't want to say to the limit. I don't want to.
No, not
it's
at all.
like that, isn't it? It's about real testing ourselves and trying to remind ourselves what we're actually capable of.
Yeah, I think so. I think it, but it doesn't have to be big.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be big at all. It's being a capable person can actually just mean getting out of bed in the morning for some people.
Yeah,
and that's success.
Yeah.
So my issues come from, I was lucky. I got fast. I know the mental health support in this country is varying, and I was very lucky when I really suffered. I was fast tracked through the CBT,
Okay. Yeah, well worth it.
Because we had because my daughter was born, I felt actually I couldn't be a safe father unless I went through this process.
Yeah.
And the GPs picked up on that and were like, yeah, we need to get you help quickly to support your family. We were both going through, and it kind of a bit of postnatal depression bled into it as well.
Yeah.
Which obviously something that
I was going to say that obviously I'm not qualified to diagnose, blah blah blah. But I was I wonder if you had postnatal depression, because there is
a bit. I think that came the second wave.
Yeah.
Like, I had these issues regarding kind of my own, and then that, it's that simple thing of my baby's crying. And obviously my negative thoughts is I'm not good enough. It's like, well, my baby's crying, I'm not good enough as a father. It just reinforced that belief I wasn't good enough at anything. It was a horrible time, absolutely horrendous. It affected everything. It affected my relationship with my wife. She understood, she supported me, she's been my rock for 10, 11 years now, from day one. But then it bled in as being this problem. But the therapist at the time said, your core belief is that you don't think you're good enough for anything. and that
Is,
came from various reasons.
has there been a diagnosis on that one? Because I get imposter syndrome quite a lot, but I put it down to me because I was raised in the care system. Well, I wasn't raised; I was dragged out and passed around. But that's a bit of conversation for
Yeah.
another day. But for me, so I put it down to that: is as a young age, always being told you're not good enough. But
Yeah, it kind of came from that. Yeah, I think they asked the questions of finding out your core belief, as they put it. How do you live your life? And it stemmed from, and for no fault of anyone's like my family, but it came from my parents and my brothers a little bit. But I'm the youngest of three, all very bright, all really successful individuals. And I felt like I'd never met their standards.
Yeah.
Ever. And even to this day a little bit, my older brother's a bit like that, but he's a associate professor at a top university. Like, he's ridiculously intelligent.
Yeah.
But I lived in his shadow my entire life growing up. The school had a bloody statue dedicated to him, pretty much, it felt like. And when my younger brother came along, and I was different because I'm not like him, I'm not book smart, I'm not bad, I was never bad at school, but I'm a creative one. I've designed, and that's my life, that's who I am. It's just completely different.
Well, I think it also goes down to it's like that hidden thing with social media, isn't it? It's that we're built. I don't think we're built, but we can't help but compare ourselves to other people. And
Absolutely.
We can deny it, or we can deny it all we like. But anyone who says I don't compare myself to other people, I'm sorry, I think they're mistaken.
There's always a truth in that. I think I'd like to think that I don't, on so many reasons. I always know there's people better than me.
Yeah,
I can be as good as I can be. I want to be good what I want to be good at, and I have things where I think I excel at, and I get that. I've always been a bit of a jack of all trades, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm happy being one of those type of people. I think those people are really valuable in life. Not everyone has to be a high flyer. Not everyone has to excel at one thing. If you've got someone who's a real kind of cart horse of an individual, I think that's great, and I think that's who I am. But yeah, it's just you've got a combination of that as my core belief, and being made redundant from a job I was in for 10 years. It's been the whole time trying to apply for jobs, getting rejections, trying to write a CV about thinking how good you are when you don't believe it is tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's mentally draining, and I hate it. I hate looking for jobs because I just go through a period of like, oh, this is going to hit me hard now, and I have to try and I'm going to have to write down why I do, and I can't do that naturally.
Yeah.
So my whole issues came from that period in my life where, had that job redundancy. We'd lost a child. We had a miscarriage as well at the same time, and it was just a shit year. Sorry, pardon my swearing.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
It was just like, it was awful. 2017 was a shocking year for me and my family, and it took. I don't think I felt right again until about 2020.
Wow.
That's kind of when I felt, because I was in a really good job and I was doing well, but then COVID hit.
Yeah.
COVID hit, and I lost that job because of the market. They had to let me go because we lost so much money.
Yeah.
But I stood there and went, well, that's not my fault. And I was able to just suddenly just turn it and go, actually, this isn't my fault, and I haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
And that kind of then released me a little bit of being more confident, and I could go to when I was starting to apply for new jobs whilst I'd been made redundant in 2020. I was like, COVID stopped me from. I'm looking for a new job, not because of me, because of COVID.
Yeah.
And everyone gets that, and that's why a lot of people went through that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the time when I got this job at GTech, where I felt that I can be successful here. And I've done that ever since then. I've kind of hit the ground running and flown by, and I've got a lot more confidence in myself than I have done. But I still have days where I don't believe it, and that's just how it is.
But John, I applaud two things, mate. You're clearly a sound bloke. Clearly, you're just a nice bloke. So well done to you, mate. So if we ever meet up in a pub, let's have a pint. Actually, I'll send you an invite to that. I'll have a pint after. But anyway, I don't want to digress. But you're just an honest and sound bloke. So well done to you. But I have to applaud Jesus. We don't promote and talk about brands whatsoever. But I think I'm willing to break that rule, because I'm just like, do you know what? Do you know what, mate? I've only got a female member of staff, and when she comes in, not all the time, but when she comes in like a little bit upset, I don't know how to deal with this, and start freaking out. I'll hide in the office, mate. Like, okay, there's a Spotify, and I'll just kind of let her get on with it. But you've got a company there what's just like, okay, he's having a moment, and well done to them.
I mean, I don't know if they feel the same.
Yeah,
They may feel exactly the same as you, but I'm forcing them to listen
yeah,
by just sitting there in front of them and going, I'm having a bad day. I
yeah,
need you to listen to me. So whether they actually like it or not, I don't know. But but I'm trying to become the individual. I'm keen to try and grow this support within the business. And there's been,
yeah,
I feel like I'd love to be that person eventually that people could go to be the other end of that conversation.
absolutely. Yeah,
It'd be great to implement better things here. I've only got my story to tell. Someone in the office might have a very different story to tell about how they feel supported or not. Like, I can't
yeah,
speak for everyone about that at all. But personally, I don't have any complaints about it whatsoever. And I feel it's so hard to be open though. Like, I get it. I like people I speak to in the office who are struggling. I'm like, just talk about it, but they can't. And I don't know how you change it. I don't know how you get the confidence to go, yeah, I've got an issue. Put my hand up, I've got an issue. And I don't think everyone can. And I feel
no,
like I'm very lucky that I've got the ability to do that.
yeah, but I think sometimes it just helps being that annoying person who will always be there. I really do. Obviously, that there are boundaries, but there is
Yeah.
some. So I've had people before. Actually, funny enough, I was on the phone to somebody earlier on. I've been walking with him or helping him out for a good like 6 months, and that's taken 6 months of me being that annoying person of like, are you all right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, piss off, leave me alone. And now he rings me up once or twice a week. It's just like, oh, actually, yeah, this is feeling a bit now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's only got to that stage, but sometimes, like I said, just being that annoying person of just you can
Mm.
be there without you can be there even if they don't want it.
Yeah.
I
No, I
think
get that.
that they know it, so I'm confused myself there. So if well done if
Yeah, I know what you mean though.
it can be,
I know
isn't it?
what you
It's
mean.
just knowing, letting other people know that actually you'll listen. That's for me, that's the key.
That's empathy, isn't it? And empathy is the biggest. I've seen you. It's one of these like standard HR videos about it. You get it through, but it's actually a really good one about empathy, and it just says actually it is just ears. Like, that's kind of it. You can't be there to offer a solution. That's not right. You're not there to do that. You're just there to go. Someone needs a space just to
Yeah,
get it all off their chest. And there's a couple of people I turn to in this office that I'm like, I drop on Teams and go, I need a meet, I need a chat. Um, and it only happened like 2 days ago. I
yeah,
had my last one where I was just like, I need a chat. Poor guy, he was just like, I just let it all out. And he's like,
yeah.
you know, he's fine. He just sits there and listens, and then we just have a chat about other things and we move on.
Yeah. Well,
It's great to have that.
Well, I think that's the key, isn't it? And this is what frustrates me about the whole mental health game, so to speak, that mental health niche, is everybody is just like, okay, well, let's try and fix this. Well, actually, sometimes you don't need to fix it. Just shut up, let me talk.
Mm, yeah. No, I don't think finding solutions actually were right. I don't think people are looking for solutions
No, they just want to
when
vent.
they want. They do just want them, and that's really cathartic.
Yeah,
And that's what I need. That's all I need. I don't always need a solution. Like, when I'm struggling with workloads, I speak to my manager, and I'm just like, I'm telling people, I'm confident I can tell people no.
yeah,
Whereas, not everyone has that ability, and they just take it all in and keep trying to say yes. And I'm lucky I can do that. Like, I've got that confidence to go, sorry, we can't deliver that. You'll have to wait.
yeah. Well,
And it gets some people's backs up, I think.
yeah,
They don't like to be told, well, what do you mean you can't do my work for me? You did their work for them. It's like, well, we can't do it all. I've got a
yeah,
team of 3 people here. We work flat out.
yeah,
We do as much as we can, and we can't do it. Sorry.
yeah.
Like,
It's just,
but that's a culture that is not always acceptable in the office,
yeah,
in any
absolutely.
office.
Yeah,
But it's how the culture I want to put in for me and my team.
yeah. Well, I think you're doing well, mate. And it's people like you what can slowly chip away at the awareness and break that stigma bubble, because we can pretend there isn't a stigma bubble, but and I've had comments before, it's just like mental health totally changed. It's not like it was 20 years ago. It's like, I'm well aware of that. I'm not stupid. I run a charity,
Yeah,
but there is still a stigma. And I
yeah,
think so we don't talk about suicide that much because we try and
mm,
nip it in the bud early. But every single story you read about somebody who's just taking their own life, nobody saw it coming.
yeah, mm,
That's the problem, isn't it? It's just we
yeah,
need to just make make the conversation normal, because mental health is no different to physical health.
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, in many ways, you know, I would say if you compare it to physical health where you fix it,
Yeah.
then that's where I think we go wrong sometimes. Like you can't always. I'm not saying you can't ever, but you can't always just sew it all up and it's fixed and you don't have to worry about it again. If we approach it like that, we'll never solve it. We'll never help it. If we approach it, how do you manage it? How do you go to the next day? How do you find your way in this world to deal with it? So for me, I've actually dealt with briefly a golf mental health charity that talks about, it's called the Club Talks. I'm sort of another little name drop there. But it's talk about how golf can support mental health in men and women as well. And there's a great website about that. So for me, playing golf is actually the way that I realized it fixed me. It's one of the starting process, because it's what I love doing. It's what takes my mind off things. I can focus my attention on that. But I remember when I was really, really unwell, I wasn't going to play and I was not seeing my friends and I was staying at home, and I didn't realize this was a problem at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember just the day after I got diagnosed, my wife said, go play, just go. You know, you've had a shocking week, go play. And I stood on the first tee and all my mates went, where the hell have you been? Like, I know sort of, oh, thank God you're okay and you're back. And I didn't realize there was a level of support here. And I stood on that first tee and hit a shot, and I felt completely normal again for a few seconds. And that was an amazing feeling. I will always remember that feeling of just going, this is actually what I'm meant to feel like.
Yeah.
Not this dark person in the corner, like not dealing with anything. And so I'll always put golf really high on my agenda in my life. But if I don't have it, I'm going to start suffering again, because it just helps me. It's my way of, and I think everyone needs something. But to find a way to just focus or take themselves away from the world, something that's different, be it a hobby, be it just watching something on telly, whatever you want to do that makes you happy, don't be afraid to do it. Like taking that time away just to enjoy something is a great help. I think it really, really game changes stuff.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like with me, I have tried golf, but me personally, I find it incredibly boring. But you know what? If golf works for you and clears your head and gets you back into fitting in society and all of that kind of stuff, then it's not wrong. We've got a trust who likes to throw axes. I like doing wild camping and ragging motorbikes around race tracks.
Nice.
We've got a husky racer who's, I've referred to him as an international champion, but I've been told he's England's champion. He went nuts at me the other day about it. You know what I mean? But it's about finding something where you can just switch off. And I think
it's remarkable how, you know, that's how I told the story on. It's like I've got a video of myself telling the story on their website. It's remarkable how much it changed. It just had that instant relief of like the day before I was the lowest I've ever been in my entire life. Like I'd collapsed on the floor at home in a full panic attack and full breakdown of like leaving this office where I'd been bullied a little bit, and I just felt as low as could be. Like, and then the next day I was having a laugh and a joke with my mates playing golf. They knew I said straight, maybe it was from even that day. I even told them that day one, I've just been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Maybe that was my starter of being open about it, because I did it day one.
Yeah.
Maybe if you get diagnosed, you don't tell anyone. Maybe that's the culture you then bring to yourself for the rest of your recovery. I don't know. Maybe that's one piece of advice I might give people is, if that's what you've been, if that's your problem, then be open about it, and that's how you get your pathway of recovery. Like, don't tell people like, oh, I went to the GP, I'm all right. Like, you're going back to square one if you deal with it like that.
Yeah. Well, I think you've already jumped way ahead, actually, because I always end the videos of like, so because I kind of have to. I feel like I'm constantly repeating myself, but I realise not everyone watches every single video. But always like I close the videos, and I guess there's a cue because we're coming on the whole 20 minutes. But it's just like, if someone's watching this triggered or whatever, what would you say to them to do? But I think you've already answered it.
Yeah,
that's a bloody good genius, actually. And I think you're the first person who said it, because everyone else is just like, they got diagnosed and eventually like they had a major meltdown and then they started to talk. Actually,
Right.
you've just like gone, yeah, I've got depression, I've been diagnosed, and gone straight in.
Mm.
And do you know what? If that's helped you, then well done to you, mate.
Yeah, I think it must have done. I've never really thought about it like that, but yeah, that must be the culture I've taken going forward.
I
I've
think,
never once said, I've never once not mentioned it to
yeah,
anyone I know. Like it's never, like pretty much everyone who knows me knows this.
yeah,
I've not been shouting publicly of, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah. But everyone I've spoken to and got to know, it's like, I went through that. I've had this. That's me.
yeah.
I suffer because of this.
Well, that's the thing, especially more so with before MANUP, never ever spoke about mental health.
Mm.
Like ever, literally. I'd always try and look out for people, but I'd never ever talk about my own stuff as
Yeah.
well. But now MANUP, I don't mean this is how it's going to sound now because of MANUP, everyone knows me as like, oh, the mental health. Someone called me mental health Dan. I was like, brilliant. But it's just like more and more people are honest because I think it's because
Mm.
they know they won't judge them. They know that I won't judge them.
Mm.
And I think that that's the thing, isn't it? It's just
See, yeah, but probably, I mean, I don't care if I'm judged.
yeah,
Like, if I'm judged because of it, more for them.
yeah.
Like, and
That's
that's the thing I said about the job thing. Like, I have to set that out because if they don't like it, I don't want to work there because it's
yeah,
not right for me.
yeah,
And that's always the first question. Always the first question of, if you're in the position where you can own it, talk about it, and if work was the reason why it happened, just make sure you don't go back into that scenario.
yeah.
Like, that would be the worst thing.
That was a good call, mate.
Yeah,
That's my little cue of right. Well, we're
yeah,
done.
yeah.
I think it's just let me hit the record button. Bear me 1 second.